Hello and welcome to the second edition of the Worldvision Fan Contest. We will be your hosts for this edition. I'm Barry Gibb.
And I'm Samantha Barks. We are joined by a famous singer and previous Worldvision participant from the British mainland, the great Rita Ora.
Thanks for the nice introduction. I'm so happy to be back after my glorious 7th place in the last edition. I just love being part of this great competition and was so happy when I was invited to host. Well, the fact that some YouTuber by the username ESC Rita Ora, who the hell is Matt, offered to give me £10 million when I host this show certainly helped as well. Anyway, where were we? Oh, right, we wanted to present the rules of this edition.
Right. Anyway, the rules have remained mostly the same from last edition. Each of you can submit songs through a Google form in the description. Like last edition, there is no limit as to how many songs each of you can send.
As some of you didn't seem to understand this last edition, though, please just submit one song at a time instead of putting 3 or 4 songs in the same submission. You can fill out the form as many times as you like, so cramming them all together just makes it harder to read for our executive supervisor Mirella Lee.
As in the previous edition, the form consists of 3 mandatory fields. First, you will have to name a country your song is intended to represent. There's a detailed guide as to what countries are allowed here on the Community tab. But the TLDR is that you can pretty much send any country or territory in the world. If you are unsure if your country is valid, just look at the Community tab post.
We should also add that some borrowing rules apply here as well, which are also explained on the Community tab.
The next field you will have to fill out is what connection the artist behind the song has to the country. It's okay if you don't get this 100% right, but your artist has to have some connection to the country they represent. I should add that if your song is from a group or duo, it is enough if one of the members of that group or duo holds a connection to the country. Also note that if the country falls under one of the borrowing rules Rita mentioned, the artist will also be accepted if they have a connection to a country your country can borrow from.
Something new in this edition is that now, the type of connection your artist has to the country you submit them for may influence who gets to represent the country if multiple songs are submitted for the same country. For example, an actual citizen of the country would be chosen over someone who only represented them in something like Eurovision. A more detailed breakdown of this is also on the Community tab.
We should also add that the artists participating last edition are forced to take a break this edition, which is why Rita couldn't participate again. Don't worry though, they will be allowed to return next edition.
I of course hope to once again get to perform then.
The third mandatory field is probably the most important one. This is where you name the song you want to submit. It is enough to simply write the artist name and song title here, though an additional YouTube link is appreciated. Please note that with roughly 4 months having passed since the start of the previous edition, songs must now be released no earlier than the 1st of November 2022 to be accepted. Also, covers and remixes are for the most part not allowed.
Unless you are like me, send a cover that Mirella misses to identify and participate anyway.
Hey, shut up, Rita! Anyway, ESC and JESC songs are also not allowed. National final songs are allowed, but only if they are no longer actively participating in a national final. Which, given that the national final season is now over, shouldn't be an issue this edition anyway.
There's also a sort of new rule that entries may be disqualified if they are too political, but this rule is really quite tolerant. Basically, just don't submit songs that advocate for outright criminal stuff or something like that and you should be fine.
Also keep in mind that the artist behind your song must not be too famous. There was a community post entry last edition that explained when an artist is or isn't too famous, but as a general rule, just don't send currently world famous stars like Taylor Swift or someone like that.
I still feel kind of personally insulted by the fact that both Alex and Mirella didn't consider me too famous to participate last edition, but whatever.
There are also 2 optional fields in the form. The first one is a new addition in this edition, which is a field where you can name a specific time code of your song to be shown in the recap videos. You don't have to fill this one out. If you don't, Mirella Lee will just pick a time code himself. The recaps should be around 20 to 25 seconds per song, with a shorter 10 to 15 second recap being used in the results video.
The second optional field is for the backup countries. For those who are new or have forgotten, you can name other countries your songs should represent if your main country is already taken. Unlike with the main country, your artist doesn't necessarily have to have a connection to these countries, though it would be appreciated if they do. You can leave these empty, but if your main country is taken, this means that Mirella would choose a backup country for you. So we strongly advise you to put a few countries in here.
Also mind the difference between backup countries and borrows. The rules for borrowing only apply to the main country. There are no rules whatsoever as to what countries can be named as backup countries.
Now, there are 6 countries that are guaranteed finalists. One of those is of course the host, the Isle of Man. Since it is known who sent the last winning song, there's a special rule as to how the song for the Isle of Man is chosen that is explained on the community tab as well.
The remaining automatic qualifiers are Angola, Australia, Bulgaria, Norway and the United States. For these countries, anyone can regularly send songs. However, since they are automatic qualifiers, we highly recommend naming backup countries for entries sent for them, as they are probably quite demanded.
We should add that if nobody sends songs for one of these countries, Morellia will pick a song for that country, so they will participate in any case.
The remaining countries you send will most likely have to qualify from the semi-finals or perhaps even quarter-finals first, depending on the amount of songs submitted. It should be said that like last edition, there's a minimum of 26 participants, so in the unlikely case that less songs are submitted, Morellia will randomly select the countries filling the remaining slots.
Now, we should say that since this contest happens on such a short notice, you are given almost 2 full weeks to submit songs.
This might only be shortened if we already get like a ton of songs in the first week, but that's quite unlikely.
The submission window will therefore probably close on the 19th of April 2024.
Now, we should also quickly explain the voting this edition.
Well, for the semi-finals and all potential other rounds before the final, the voting will remain the same. You will be able to vote for your 10 favorite songs in a Google form, making the vote televote only.
However, in the final, there will be another type of voting this time. In addition to voting in the televote, you will also be allowed to vote as juries. Now, this works a bit different than in other contests.
That's right. Since the song submissions happen anonymously through the Google form, there technically aren't any heads of delegation in this contest. Therefore, becoming a jury also works in a unique way. Remember how in the last edition, each song was announced on the community tab before the semi-finals? This will happen this edition once more, but now you will be asked to rate the songs out of 10 under these community posts.
By rating the songs, you will be able to earn jury points that you can then award in the final in addition to your televote rating. That's right, juries can vote in the televote as well, so in effect, you'll get to vote twice.
Now, how earning these points works is that for a set amount of ratings you leave under the community posts, you get 1 jury point. The exact amount of ratings you need to give per jury point will be revealed on the community tab once the amount of participating songs is known. You will be able to earn a total of 58 jury points, the same total amount of points you award in the televote.
We should add that there is no such rule as that you have to rate all songs to get any jury points, but not rating all of them means that you will end up with less jury points. For example, if you rate exactly half the songs, you would only have 29 jury points available in the final. Don't worry, Morellia will reveal how many points you have earned on the community tab before the final, so you don't have to keep track yourself.
Now the way the actual jury voting works is also quite unique. Instead of giving 12, 10 and 8 to 1 points like in the televote, you can spend your earned jury points freely. Want to give 12 points to 3 different songs each? You can do that. Want to give only 5 points to like 11 different songs? You can do that as well. There are only some limitations to this. First, you obviously can't spend more points than you have earned. Second, you can't give more than 12 points to a single song, mostly so that some juries don't just award 58 points to one song and make the remaining vote irrelevant. Lastly, you can't award points to more than 15 songs.
We should add that jury voting isn't mandatory, even if you earn jury points. Not voting as a jury will simply make your points expire. You also don't have to spend all the points you have earned if you do vote as a jury.
Well, I think that's all we have to say about this edition. We hope to see many songs from you, and we'll see you when the contest officially begins.